I ain't gonna be no banker's slave. I ain't gonna be no banker's slave. Robbing Peter to pay Paul from the cradle to the grave. I ain't gonna be no banker's slave.
Howdy doody, how is your booty? Hey, today I was down here watching this video on, I don't know, so it might have even been on Facebook, but it was from this group called InfoWars, and it was about the rebel flag issue. And so I watched the whole thing. You know, it was a bunch of young people talking about it. But then there was this guy that played acoustic guitar, and what he sang about, and the tune was catchy. I liked it. There's no mention of who he was or, you know, where they were, but basically this guy stirred my brain into remembering how I used to be treated by the American banking system when I first started my business. You know, I'd always been a consumer. I had a bank account. I had a savings account. And before, you know, way back, there was no such thing as a ATM or a debit card or any way that you could screw up your account, because you really just didn't keep those facts in your mind about how much money you actually had in the bank. Well, back then I knew basically I didn't have very much money in the bank. But then I started my own business. I guess it was about 1984. So I got an account with Wachovia, which was a little bitty bank in High Point, North Carolina, and a few other branches around the southeast. But then suddenly, bam, they were huge. And then here came the bean counters. So before, when they were a little bitty bank, I would get calls if I was going to overdraft my account and say, hey, man, you got to get down here and put in $150 before 2 o'clock or we're going to have to bounce a check. Well, after they became big, that was unheard of. They went ahead and bounced a check. They issued us debit card, credit card, and they were glad to have our money. But the biggest problem I ever had in my entire life was when I worked real hard with my employees to get money to deposit into the bank so I could pay them their regular payroll check every week. Sometimes these checks would be $50,000 for a project I was working on to install a sound system in, I don't know, the Raleigh Civic Center or Coliseum or whatever it was. Some of these things were really big, so these big checks would come about every 3 months, and I actually had to fight to get the check. I mean, honestly, you have to go to these people's office that were the electrical contractor that we worked for as the specialty contractor doing audio and video installation. So after I finally would go camp out at their office for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, I'd get the check, bring it back, and take it to Wachovia. And then they'd put it on hold for 10 days. Well, the guys in my employ could not wait 10 days. And I certainly didn't have a lot of cash on hand to give to them so that they could live till the next Friday or the next Friday. So anyway, as I saw this progress, I saw that there was this problem with the bank wanting us to trust them in a way that we felt comfortable that they would handle our money and be fair with us. But no, that's not the way it was. It was the bean counters using legal means to figure out a way that they could charge every single depositor as much money as they could to manage their money. So, you started getting these overdrafts from your ATM, or you might have a setup to where that you have to send out 15 or 20 checks in a week. And that these guys came up with this idea that basically we're going to start depositing checks, the biggest first, the smallest last. So if I had a big check in, floating out there waiting to get paid from JBL or Harmon or, I don't know, QSC, Crest, Crown, whoever it might be, I surely didn't want to make them mad by bouncing a check. So they would cash these giant checks, and then every check after that, they would bounce. Now, it didn't used to be, like it is today, at $35, $40 per returned item. So I could see that these guys were making so much money off of me and my company in a very dishonest way, that this tune this guy played today wanted me to make this video and tell everybody that I quit the banking business a long time ago. I paid cash. Rhonda works for Publix. She could get her check and cash it the same day at the store. I went for 10 or 15 years paying cash only, getting paid cash only. That sort of destroyed my ability to grow my business, because nobody wants to pay a contracted person of the size company that I had, cash money. They want to have some documented record, you sign for it and all that stuff. So I'm just trying to say that if you can go with a cash flow of cash only and make sure people pay you in cash, and don't use ATMs, don't use debit cards, or any of that kind of stuff, because if you're a young person and you're not smart enough to know the scheme of things that big banks do and use to manipulate you into blowing your money and make you think that you screwed up. So basically, I finally, have to back up and say, I actually have found a way where I don't have to go to Amscot and get a cash, a money order and deliver the cash in their hands. I now have an American Express Bluebird card that will not allow me or anybody in my family to overdraft our account. So it's a very nifty thing. If you write a check, you have to have an authorization number. The check is just like going up to Amscot and getting a money order. It costs you absolutely nothing. But I have waited 30-something years to be able to trust the big banks again. And I still don't trust what's going on, because I don't have the paper money in my hands anymore. And they're saying that paper money is going to be worthless. Well, I guess I'll be bartering for my services and everything that I do. Besides playing music, I have other things that I do to make money, and it'll have to go back to like it used to be before the banks were so corrupt, to where people just took care of each other. You worked for a guy, he helped you out. Say, he owns a grocery store or a supermarket that's smaller. He might help you out with some food, or you never know. It might be some guy that owns a tire company. You do something for him, he does something for you. So be careful out there with your money. It's hard to get. And God knows we don't need anybody to manipulate us into a situation where they can take hundreds of dollars every week because of some stupid mistake that was made by making a withdrawal at an ATM. Think about what this guy says in these clips. And I'm just now working on the video, so I'll have to see how it works out. But I'm telling you, man, and guys and girls and everybody. The best way is cash. Cash money. If you can get silver or gold, yeah, that'd be great, but that's a pipe dream. So anyway, let's see what happens. And I love all you guys. Hang in there.
I ain't gonna be no banker's slave. I ain't gonna be no banker's slave. Robbing Peter to pay Paul from the cradle to the grave. I ain't gonna be no banker's slave. I'd rather live poor and be free. I'd rather live poor and be free than live in some cage in the lap of luxury. I'd rather live poor and be free.